Hello and welcome to Spardha Lines, your one-stop destination for the civil services preparation, UPSC, KPSC and other relevant examinations. Today we have picked up many articles for your examination preparation and we will understand these from your both pre as well as your mains examination. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article says, activists raise concerns over legal loophole pertaining to sexual assault of animals. This article here is speaking about what is called as the bestiality. What is it? Let's understand the concept first. Then we will see what is the existing law and we will also see what is the author trying to convey and we will see what is the future course of action that needs to be initiated. First, we have to understand the concept of bestiality. What is the concept of bestiality? This is a concept where a human being engages in a sexual assault against another animal, which means to say a human being enters into a sexual intercourse mode with an animal. That is what is called as bestiality. So what is bestiality? It is a sexual assault conducted by human beings against the animals. It is that particular concept where a man engages in a sexual intercourse with an animal which is forbidden in law in the present situation. What is the law that we currently have? We have one of the sections in the Indian Penal Code, which is the section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. What does it say? It says, whoever voluntarily has carnal intercourse against the order of the nature with any man, woman or animal shall be punished with imprisonment for life or with imprisonment for either description for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall also be liable to fine as well. We have the Supreme Court of India which has decriminalized same-sex marriages, which means to say even if they want to engage in physical intimate relationship among the same sex, which was included under section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, that has been decriminalized. However, this section also has emphasis to bestiality, which means to say that sexual intercourse against the order of the nature, human beings abusing the animals, engaging animals in the sexual assault, having intercourse with the animals is yet retained in the law in the Indian Penal Code. So the Indian Penal Code in section 377 of the Indian Penal Code goes on to emphasize that if there is a human being who goes on to enter into a sexual assault against the animal, enters in sexual intercourse with an animal, that will be a criminal offense under the Indian Penal Code. So the Indian Penal Code under 377 is clear that bestiality or sexual intercourse against the animals cannot happen. But then we have the latest proposal which will replace the Indian Penal Code called as the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. So this article currently goes on to say that there is no reference made with respect to the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita about the bestiality. So in case there are human beings who are conducting sexual assaults against the animals, such is not currently covered under the new legislation, says this article. When we look at couple of examples in the past, there were a couple of examples where there was an abuse that have taken place against the animals. In March this year, a man was booked under section 377 and relevant provisions of the Prevention of the Cruelty Act for sexually abusing a female dog in central Delhi's Derpuri. Then there was another incident where a man had raped a dog at a park in Harinagar, which was reported widely in the media. These are some instances where cows have been abused, dogs have been abused sexually for their own psychopathic nature. This clearly points out that when it comes to the present legislation, we have 377 which bars it, but the Nyaya Samhita does not have about it is one perspective. However, we also have to realize that the central government had also come up with another proposal as well. What is this proposal? That is to bring a change to the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. Currently, we have the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, which happens to be a 1960 legislation. To bring amendments to it, the central government had proposed Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Amendment Bill in the Monsoon Session. It is yet not in picture. They had proposed it. They have the draft as well, but it is yet not become an act now. So the centre has proposed to overhaul the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act of 1960, introducing 61 amendments in the law, which includes 3 years imprisonment for committing gruesome cruelty, including bestiality with the animals. So what is the intent of the central government? The intent of the central government is, yes, they might have removed in the so-called change that they are planning to come with respect to Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. The IPC will be replaced by the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. In IPC we had section 377. In Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita there is no such proposal. Why? That is because the central government is planning to introduce this section in the special law, which is the Prevention of the Cruelty to Animals Act of 1960. So they are bringing an amendment, and when it becomes an act, what we will have is bestiality, which will be present in this amendment bill. The draft bill has proposed to include bestiality as a crime under the new category of gruesome cruelty. So what is this gruesome cruelty? The proposed subsection describes gruesome cruelty as an act involving which leads to extreme pain and suffering to the animal and is likely to the animal in the lifelong disability. It includes mutilation or killing or animal by the use of cesarean injection in the heart or any other cruel manner that is known to cause permanent physical damage to the animal or render animal useless or cause any injury which is likely to cause death, including bestiality. So the author in one way is right that the IPC's replacement in the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita may not be present with respect to the bestiality, and the author is partially wrong as well, because this particular idea, this particular concept, this particular intention of the legislature is to introduce this in a special legislation, which is why maybe it is omitted in the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita and it is going to be included in the proposed amendment bill. We have the Supreme Court of India in number of landmark legislations, in number of landmark judgments has given the very same idea. In Normal Welfare Board of India versus A. Nagaraj and others, the Supreme Court held that animals too have the right to live with honor and dignity, and when there is a human being who continues to exploit the animal, continues to engage in sexual intercourse with an animal, it is violating the right to live with dignity for that animal. Similarly, in Colonel Singh and others versus State of Haryana in revolutionary judgment, in which judiciary took the matter of animal rights in the extent of fundamental rights as well. So we have the legislative intent, we also have the judicial principles as well. If it is not able to take care of the animals, then what is the other alternative do we have? We have another alternative which is called as the doctrine of parens patriae. What is this parens patriae? This is a Latin doctrine which basically means that there are few people in the country who may not be able to take care of them on the legal mechanism. So the state, that is the government in this particular case, when we speak about the state, what we have is the legislature, executive and the judiciary. But we also have the government which has to take care of the people who cannot take care of themselves. So the parens patriae doctrine basically goes on to say that the state is the parent of the nation. The government will have to take care of all those people who cannot take care of themselves, because there are other section of the people who are paying the taxes, the government being the repository and the consolidator of the funds that has been generated, they should be able to take care of rest of the people in the country. So in case of minor children or physically or mentally differently able people whose rights were denied by irresponsible, abusive, careless parents, the state can invoke what is called as the parens patriae jurisdiction. With sovereign power, the state can assume parenthood to provide all rights meant for protection of such challenged individual. When you look at Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, what does it speak about? It speaks about right to life and personal liberty. Originally, when the Constitution was designed, the design of the Constitution was such a way that Article 21 had very limited rights. But over a period of time, we have explored this Article 21. We have ensured that this Article 21 is interpreted liberally, so that the meaning of right to life has many facets attached to it. Similarly, when it comes to parens patriae, the original intent was with respect to the human beings. There were few human beings who were not able to take care of themselves, so the state immediately steps into the picture and ensures that all these sections of the people are taken care. The state has the responsibility to take care of the people. It can be the minor, it can be the lunatics, it can be the people who have no mental stability. So all those people who are not being taken care by the respective people, the state using the doctrine of pares patriae would be able to take care of such people. Similarly, you have the animals, they also have the right to live as well. They have also had the fundamental rights as we just discussed. So when they are not able to take care of them because of the abusive nature of the human beings, the state will have to use this doctrine of pares patriae and ultimately take care of these sections of the animal is another framework. So what do we have? We have a legislative intent in 377. We have the legislative architecture which is present in 377, which the author currently says may not be present in Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, but it is not present in Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita because the central government is thinking of proposing an amendment bill to the Prevention of Cruelty Act. If it is not present in the legislative intent, what can we do? We can invoke this doctrine of pares patriae and ultimately ensure that all these species, so Article 21 has right to life as well, but is this fundamental right guaranteed to the animals? Yes and no as well. Supreme Court also has clarified that there are fundamental rights which also have to be given to the animals. It is a larger canvas, mind you, and at the same time, when none of these work, we can invoke the doctrine of pares patriae and ultimately ensure that these biodiversity and other species are taken into consideration and are protected. When it comes to this doctrine, the above pronouncement was in line with the court order issued back in 2017 by the Uttarakhand High Court, where rivers like Ganga and Yamuna along with its origin Gangotri Yamunotri were also granted rights, duties and liabilities similar to a living person. So if rivers and lakes can be taken care of, why not invoke this doctrine to protect the animal rights are some of the arguments that you have to understand. So what did we understand from this article? In brief, we understood what is bestiality, we understood section 377 of the Indian Penal Code with respect to bestiality. There is a loophole which is in the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. This has to be changed, and how do we change it? By introducing legislation in the Prevention of Animals Act Amendment Bill, and Supreme Court has also guaranteed the rights of the animals. So we have to bring these changes so that the sexual assault that are conducted against the animals are also taken care of. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says 6 children among 12 missing as boat capsizes in Bihar's Bagmati river. There are two important parameters that you have to look at. One is from the preliminary examination point of view. The second is with respect to the mains examination point of view. When it comes to the preliminary examination point of view, the first parameter is, where is this Bagmati river? This can be an important question. So the Bagmati river is in the state of Bihar. So the first parameter is, we have understood it from the preliminary examination. Are there any important facts with respect to Bagmati river is what you have to put on the comment section. For example, where does this river rise? What is the length of it? What is the distance that it travels? Which are the district it moves through is what you have to put on the comment section. So Bagmati river is in the state of Bihar. Second important parameter is with respect to the boat capsizing. What is this boat capsizing? A boat generally flows on the water. When it goes upside down, or there is improper weight distribution that happens when the force of a boat flips over, where it changes and people fall into the river, that is what is called as capsizing. So a boat capsizing basically means that you have a boat which is flowing on the river. When it falls upside down, when it gets submerged, that is what is called as the boat capsizing. So basically it will flip over and then it will turn upside down, and then people who are on the boat will also get fallen into the river. This is what is called as boat capsizing. Why are we discussing about it? That is because at least 12 people including 6 children went missing after a boat carrying over 30 people capsized in Bagmati river in Muzaffarpur in Bihar. Now the question is, what are the reasons for boat capsizing? Let's not look into too deep into this. Let's understand with common sense what exactly happens. Let's say there is a small boat. If there is a huge boat that is present, obviously there will be a lot of science involved in it when it comes to the making. But when it comes to the small boats, there may not be much of the strength that is required. So as a result, the major reasons for most of the boat sizing in our country is that it is all happening on the small boats. That happens to be the first reason. Second reason is when it comes to the larger ships, there will be stability, there will be engineering mechanics that will be employed, but when it comes to the small ships, such engineering mechanics will not be present. Third, whenever there is a small boat, what it will have is limited capacity. So you will have limited capacity that happens, let's say for example about 3 to 4 people or a maximum of 5 to 6 people. But in most of the instances that you see, whether it is in Bihar or in Andhra Pradesh or you see it in Kerala, what is the major cause? That you have a small boat, the capacity on this boat would be about 4 to 5 people, but the strength on that particular boat would be far in excess to the capacity. When it can take as many as 4 people on the boat, there will be 7 to 8 people who will be present on that particular boat. So the capacity that it can take is also at problem. So what is another issue? One is to do with capacity. So the capacity here with respect to all these small boats will be very less, 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, but then whenever capsizing happens, it is because the capacity is far in excess, and as a result the boat falls upside down and gets submerged. Added to it, whenever a capsizing happens, what you will also realize is that it is people in the rural level who mostly travel, and this particular river or this area, there will be no monitoring activities that is taking place. For example, you will have couple of departments which will give license to the boating industry. You will also have departments which will give permission what kind of boats that should be present. But when it comes to such reasons of capsizing, there will be a specific area or a specific region where it is not regulated. So you have an institution which has to provide the permission, it has to give the licenses to these people who run the boats as well as ships. But in these cases what happens, it is informal in nature, so they have to move from one place to another. There are no departments that are giving permission, there are no licenses that are awarded to these people, and as a result they run the boats or they also run the ships without any license, and this is another major problem. So what is the third major problem? One, whenever there is this particular issue, the most important issue that comes into picture is the license, which they might not have taken. And whenever there is capsizing, you also have to realize when it comes to the licensed version, let's say there is a ship or there is a small boat, if it is under the control of the government and the institutions, they would be provided, let's say, the life jackets, the jackets that they have to use in case there is an eventuality, that then these people would be safeguarded by these jackets. But in the unregulated sector, you would have one person who would be bowing that particular ship. There are no regulations per se, and these people will not have the jackets. So the minute there is capsizing that takes place, this ultimately leads to death of individuals as well. So in most cases, they are not regulated by the institutions, they run on their own, they do not have the life jackets, and as a result what you have is issues in this particular area. So whenever, apart from this, whenever the capsizing happens, there can also be geographical reasons as well. Let's say for example there is shift running of the water where he is not able to control the water, and at the same time weather related conditions, let's say there is excessive rainfall that happens or there is storm that happens, capsizing can also result in it. And added to it, bad weather conditions additional, or there is a cyclone, these conditions are not taken into picture, and then they enter into the sea and there is capsizing that takes place. Added to it, we also have weight distribution. What is this weight distribution? Let's say for example in a small boat that we have, there has to be balance around the entire boat. If there is weight consolidation that happens in only one part of the boat, even in that place, what it can result to is the capsizing. So there have been committees that have been appointed in the past. So whenever there is a disaster that strikes, the immediate response would be appoint a committee, and this particular committee will look into the loopholes. They will make the recommendation. This will only be on the paper, and there is no effective mechanism to stop it. This has become the unfortunate style of events that is taking place in couple of states in India. So in order to overcome all these issues, there are few general principles that we have to look at. What are these general principles? One, we have to properly distribute the weight, which we did discuss in our concerns, that there has to be a proper distribution. avoid overloading the boat. If there is a prescribed number of people who can enter a boat, let's say it is 4 people or it is a maximum of 5 people, only those many should be allowed. In case there are people who are violating it, their licenses will have to be immediately cancelled. Maintain a low center of gravity. Check the weather conditions. How is the weather? Is it very bleak? Is there any monsoon? Is there any heavy rainfall that is taking place? If such conditions are present, stay away from the boat. Stay alert to the rough water. We did look at the force of the water. Sometimes when there is sudden rush of the water or there is a dam that is open, there are people in that particular locality. We've also seen couple of reels on Instagram and also on YouTube as well, that we have the fervor to take care of the adventure as well. So what do? We enter into the boats, we act like we are the pros in it, and then you ultimately enter it. When there is a drift water that enters, the rough water we would not be able to manage it. That has also resulted in capsizing of the boats, and there are people who have passed away. So, and then if there are any safety guidelines that are present, all these safety guidelines will also have to be followed, and an awareness will have to be created that their life is far more important rather than the adventure that they are doing. These are some of the measures that have to be taken into picture. So one, this article is important from a GS paper 1 from geography perspective. Bagmati river is in Bihar, and second is from the GS paper 3 management, that is disaster management article. So we have to understand that in case there is such capsizing, these measures will have to be taken. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about World Suicide Prevention Day. Why are we speaking about the World Suicide Prevention Day? That is because every year what we have is the observance of 10th September as the World Suicide Prevention Day. Why is this observed every year? That is because an estimated 7,03,000 people a year take their life around the world. For every suicide, there are likely 20 other people making a suicide attempt and many more serious thoughts of suicide as well. So as many people are passing away, there are also instances or people thinking of committing the suicide. According to August 2022 data released by National Crime Records Bureau, a total of 1.64 lakh suicides were registered in India in the year 2021. The numbers are shocking as they show a significant increase of 6.1 cases per lakh population compared to 2020 figures. The suicide rate in 2021 was recorded at 12 per 1 lakh population as against the rate of 11.3 per 1 lakh population in 2020. So in order to prevent it, in order to ensure that an awareness is created, in order to ensure that suicide is not the last ray, there are other alternatives and you also have other mechanisms to overcome the life's battles. What we have is the World Suicide Prevention Day. It was established in 2003 by the International Association for Suicide Prevention in conjunction with the World Health Organization. September 10th each year aims to focus attention on the issue, reduces stigma and raises awareness among organizations, governments and the public, giving a singular message that suicides are preventable. The triennial theme for the 2021-23 is creating hope through action, which basically means that there are other means and ways to address the troubles of the life. Let's look at alternative, and committing suicide is not the only go ahead, is what is the theme for the year 2001 up until 2023. And when we look into the age, who are the people who are committing suicides? Most of them are in 34%, which means to say that it is between 45 to 60. So these are the people who are committing the maximum. Sorry, it is 18 to 30 who committed the maximum suicides, and it is 45 to 60 years of age, which is about 18%, and 30 to 45 years of age, which falls under 31% bracket. So people from these age groups who mostly commit suicide. In order to overcome this particular issue, we have the Government of India, which has come up with National Suicide Prevention Strategy. What is this National Suicide Prevention Strategy? It seeks to establish effective surveillance mechanisms for suicide within the next 3 days. So you have a national authority, you have a state authority, you will also have a district authority as well. So all these will be able to control, infuse awareness, and this particular initiative has been taken up by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. So you will have state level agencies, central level agencies and district level agencies. Who are the collaborators? Various ministries, non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, community level health workers, local government and PRI workers, academia, then you will have NSS and youth clubs, faith-based organizations, media. So all those institutions which can help prevent suicides will be added as part of this strategy. Second, it seeks to establish psychiatric outpatient departments that will provide suicide prevention services through the district mental health program in all districts within the next 5 years. So there will be psychiatric outpatient departments. So you'll have a psychologist and a psychiatrist who will be able to ensure that they seek the opinion of the people as to why they are committing the suicide and give them input that there are alternatives to it. Third, it aims to integrate a mental well-being curriculum in educational institutions within the next 8 years. So there are children who are also studying. There are also young adults who've been studying in couple of educational institutions because they've got low marks, or because of the peer pressure, or because of the parental pressure, or because of the teacher pressure. There are a couple of cases where they're committing the suicides. So this suicide prevention will also be part of the educational institutions. The fourth objective of National Suicide Prevention Strategy is to strengthen surveillance of suicide and further generation of evidence through evaluation that will ensure improvement in the program quality. So once the program starts off, what we have to focus is not just about the output but the outcome of it. The outcome is the real transformation and the change that we are planning to bring through this strategy. So it will be monitored closely, and in case there are any impediments, the same will be addressed in the National Suicide Prevention Strategy. And one such initiative that the central government has also taken is what is called as Mano Darpan, which happens to be an initiative of Ministry of Education as part of Atma Nirbharta Bharat Abhiyan, which aims to provide psychosocial support to students, teachers and families for mental health and emotional well-being during the times of COVID-19 and also beyond it as well, so that these people are taken care of. So the mind, the psychology, the mental depression is not just with respect to the normal human beings, but it can happen for all kinds of human beings. In fact, there are also Bollywood actors as well who've come and spoken about depression and the phases that they've gone through. You also have celebrities who also committed suicides as well, and you know who are the people who also committed suicides. We don't know if it's suicide or it is a murder. We will not enter into it, but there are people who have committed suicides. There are people who have entered into depressions as well. So it is not just normal people who go through this particular phase. Even if they are rich, even if they have everything at their disposal, there are these people who commit the suicides as well. So what are the basic issues? One, it can be with respect to the family. Second, it can be with respect to the finances. Third, it can be with respect to the aspirations as well. If we are able to mold it, increase the emotional quotient and able to handle that circumstance for that period of time and overcome that, we would be able to withstand the pressures of the society, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about National Judicial Data Grid. What is this National Judicial Data Grid? It happens to be a database. Database of what? It happens to be a portal where you have the orders, judgments and other necessities of the court which are uploaded on this particular portal. Let's say, for example, you want to see what is happening with respect to your case. Let's say you have a property dispute, or there is a criminal issue that is taking place in your personal life. So there is a case that is lodged in the court of, let's say, a local court, or in the High Court, or in the Supreme Court. You want to know the status of it. How do you know it? It is connected through this National Judicial Data Grid. So this happens to be a national repository of data with respect to the cases instituted, pending and disposed of by the courts across the length and breadth of the country. So this data is updated on a real-time basis, and it includes the proceedings, decisions, and this will be computerized and will be updated on a real-time basis. So we have the trial courts which are already part of it. We have all the high courts which are also part of it, and now we will have most of the aspects of the Supreme Court which is part of this National Judicial Data Grid. So this happens to be one of the updates where the proceedings, decisions, court orders, judgments will all be uploaded on a real-time basis. So besides onboarding on the NJDJ, it would also mean judiciary has increased coordination, informed decision making optimum deployment of resource and manpower, single source of data, and a huge potential for high quality research work. This happens to be the significance. So the significance will be, one, there are a lot number of cases, so there is pendency of cases in the judiciary, one in the Supreme Court, next in the High Courts, and also in the trial courts, where the crores of cases. Now with the real-time data, this will help in reduction of pendency of the cases. Then there is undue delay as well. We also know for the fact that justice delay is justice denied, so the delay can also be comparatively reduced. That happens to be another one. So all the bottlenecks that are present in the judiciary, they can be removed, research analysis can be done, and this can also be posted for reduction of pendency of the cases. So far 2023 has seen total pendency of 64,854 registered cases, 15,498 unregistered cases in the Supreme Court and in couple of other high courts as well. So in order to avoid the pendency, the delay, and to ensure that there is research, this National Judicial Data Grid is the necessity. So what is it? It is just a central database which has orders, judgments, and other case details of District, High Court and the Supreme Court of India. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is important from the preliminary examination point of view. What does it speak about? It speaks about one of the festivals called as the Nest Festival. What is it? This happens to be a Northeast festival. It stands for Northeast Students Festival. It happens to be an annual event that helps students from the region to mingle and adapt to the new environment away from home as they travel to Delhi and other cities. So basically, this is a festival where people from northeast states, these students who travel from northeastern part, they go to some other part of the country, and as they go to some other part of the country, they will have to get acclimatized to the environment and culture. So in this particular place, there will be a festival that will be conducted where they are made to be at ease with the environment, and at the same time people will also have to be acceptive to the northern eastern people. There have been discrepancies in the past. In order to promote more brotherhood and bonhomie, cultural events will take place in couple of places wherever these people are. So My Home India since 2015 every year organizes Nest with an aim of creating cultural and emotional sensitivity amongst the fellow citizens across India, and this organization aims to create a sense of harmony through bringing different sections of the society together. So in case there are differences, these differences will be burnt out. In case there are differences, these differences will be completely destroyed, and as a result, it is a motion of creating bonhomie. So what is it? The aim is to welcome the youth of the Northeast to some other part. So from some other part, there are people who are given an awareness. In case there are any differences, these differences will be addressed, and dances, food, cuisine of the northeastern part will also be introduced in other parts of the country, so that they understand the northeastern environment and northeastern people understand the cultural milieu of that particular place wherever they are heading. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this topic. Now let's look into the next article. This article says changing the way the postman knocks. This article here is speaking about the post office bill that has been introduced in the Rajya Sabha. What are the important provisions that you have to look at? There are three important provisions that we have to look at. One is with respect to that the bill will authorize Director General of Postal Services, which means to say that as of now there are courier services, there are other types of services who are able to send one particular parcel from one source to another destination. They were not able to, the law was in such a way that they were not able to decide on the service charge. So we have the service charge that this particular product is being moved from one place to another. So this was a bit rigid. Now it is becoming flexible. So it is the authority which should be able to revision of the charges, which means to say they would be able to change the charges, including traditional mail services. So because of the competition, there was a lot of rigidity. They were not able to change, and now they would be able to change more frequently as per the competition that is in the market. That happens to be the first one. The second is with respect to the parcel. Let's say for example, there is a parcel. This particular parcel is moving from one place to another. what if this particular parcel has something which can be far more dangerous? What if there are some equipments or the tools which is sent from one place to another and it can actually be a threat to the law and order? In that case, if they have the information and an intelligence that so and so product that is sent from source A to the source destination B, in that case they would be able to open and also see if it can actually be a harm to law and order. So the new bill proposes that the central government may offer notification empower any officer to cause any item in course of transmission. So it is being moved from one place to another. In that case, if it is going to be in the interest of the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, friendly public order, emergency or public safety, they would be able to open it and also see it as well. Added to it, as of now, when it comes to the addresses, what you have is the physical addresses which will be written on it. In order to replace, in order to give digital addressing, they are also promoting new ways of digital addressing, which means to say the new bill provides the central government standards for addressing on the items. This provision will have a far-reaching impact on the physical address, and this may be replaced by a digital code using geospatial coordinates to identify a specific premise. So what we will have is the digital addressing, physical address being replaced by the digital address, which is the future of the postal department, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article says broadening the field. The article here is speaking about science awards. We did recently discuss about this Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar prize. We did discuss in our daily current affairs. But what this article currently goes on to say, last year we did not have this particular award that was given by the government to the respective people. Why? Because they felt that there were far too many awards for the scientific community. So there has to be something like the Nobel Prize. So we have the Nobel Prize that is given for physics, chemistry, medical sciences, so on and so forth. So what they thought was that we will come up with one such equivalent for India where you have Nobel Prize for the world. Similarly, you can come up with the Nobel Prize for India. They felt there were large many awards that were existing. This was actually losing the entity or the idea or the very originality of the awards. So in order to make sure that we have something equivalent of the Nobel in India, they wanted to come up with an award and replace it. So there were many number of awards. So they felt they have to understand and come up with one single award. That is why last year this particular award was not given. However, the author in this article goes on to say that when it comes to other areas, we have frequent awards. There you would be able to reduce it, but it should not be in the area of science and technology. Why should it not be in the area of science and technology? We recently have the achievement of Chandrayaan 3. So Chandrayaan 3, we were able to achieve something, a feat which many countries, despite having the money power, are not able to achieve. What is it doing? It is pushing more people to take up and enter the area of STEM technology, which means to say science, technology, and also making sure that many women also enter into this region. In the STEM technology, there are not many women who enter this particular area. So if we have more awards, there should not be less awards, mind you, it can be with respect to the other areas, but if we have more awards with respect to the science and technology, this will encourage people to come up. Chandrayaan's success has made sure that more people would want to enter the science and technology domain. They would want to get identified as well. They want to see and bring contributions to the country as well. So there has to be more awards, and these awards will have to be given. So they should not be controlling these awards. Added to it, when you look at what's happening in the present situation, you have many people who have been men. So there are as many as 12 winners that have been provided, and all these are from the centrally funded institutions. Men are mostly consolidated in it, so we have to promote more women in it. Merit being the criterion, more women will have to be promoted in the STEM technology, and you have these awards which are given to most of the people who are from the central institutions like the IITs and funded by the central institutions. But then we also have to pick and choose some of the developments that have been taking up at the state levels as well. So if we have more number of state level authorities, state level institutions picked up, this will also promote state level institutions as well. So on one side, we have to give more awards, we have to promote it, we have to give more recognition, we have to ensure that women are empowered, and while all this is happening, the state level institutions will also have to be provided more awards, is what is this article all about. We did discuss about the award in the previous sessions, but this article says that more awards will have to be given, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article says all reported birth dates to be digitally registered from October 1. What is this article speaking about? All reported deaths and deaths in the country will be digitally registered on the center's portal from October 1. So what we have is a new legislation, the Registration of Births and Deaths Act of 2023, that paves the way for the digital birth certificate. So the birth certificates from now on and the death certificates will be digitally online. So it will be a single document which will be used for all kinds of admissions to the educational institutions, applications for driving licenses, government jobs, passports, Aadhaar, voter enrollment and registration of marriage. So since it is a central repository, you don't have to have couple of documents. There will be no license Raj, permit Raj. All that you will have to do is immediately come up with this birth in the hospital and then it will be put up on the central repository. So the cumbersome process will be eliminated and this one single document is required and is enough for every other document is what is this article all about. So basically it was a cumbersome process right now. You had to take your birth certificate for every institution and sometimes you might have missed your registration, and as a result, in order to make it simplified, there will be one single repository, and if you keep it in this repository, every other institution would be able to access as per your need and exigencies is what is this article all about. So basically you will have the state governments which will have to compulsorily register the birth as well as the death, and they have to give this to the RGI, which happens to be Registrar General of India. And as part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section under which ministry does this Registrar General of India fall under. Please put it on the comment section. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. In case you're liking these videos, please do like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also please tell it to your fellow aspirants as well. For all those of you who are giving your mains examination, UPSC, all the best and come out with flying colors. This is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.